I want to welcome everybody to day 265 of the Trump administration. And here we are, just weeks away from this important city council election. I'm sure you're getting a little tired of hearing what an important election this is for Greenville. And to be honest, I'm getting a little tired of saying it. But the fact remains that it is, and as such, I'm going to keep saying it. Because typically, in these off-year elections, fewer than half of registered voters turn out. And that's not near good enough. Last week, we had an election prep meeting at the GCDP headquarters, organized by Stacy, our chair. We talked about rides to the polls, about needing poll watchers, about collecting vote totals, and of course, about getting out the vote, up to and including on election day. It all seemed really normal because it's just what we do in October. But I want to take some time today to throw some cold water on the idea of normalcy. I know, that sounds depressing, doesn't it? Here. I've rehearsed this several times, and every time I say that line, it sounds like people will be running for the door, which is why I had them close the door so you can't leave. And I'm going to talk about the systemic steps that the Trump administration and the Republican Party are taking to ensure that this may be our very last free and fair election. Elections aren't immune to hacking. Few things are more important to protect the election anymore than cybersecurity. Not only to protect the vote itself, but to identify and block election interference through disinformation or misinformation from foreign actors, political agents, or other disruptors. That job has been the job of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in the past. But this has not been a good year for CISA. Since January 2025, the president, and I'm quoting here, has made a concerted, far-reaching effort to dismantle much of the federal support, funding, and infrastructure that has been built over the last decades to help states protect our elections from attack. That's according to the Brennan Center for Justice. A few of the steps that they've taken: freezing all election security activities that CISA would perform pending an internal review. That review is completed in March, but to date, there's no indication that any cybersecurity support to the states has been restored. Cut all the funding to a federal program that works with state and local officials and helps them monitor and respond to election cyber attacks. I love this one. Hired a reported hacker and data leaker as a senior advisor to CISA. Don't worry about that though, because he's left CISA now. Now he's at the Social Security Administration. Terminated funding for the Center for Internet Security, a nonprofit that provides training and threat monitoring and shares resources with election vendors and, most importantly, state election officials. 1/3 of the CISA staff, 600 people, has been fired. Further undermining the work of CISA, the president has directed the DOJ to investigate former director Chris Krebs, who was fired by Trump in 2020 after reporting that 2020 was the most secure election in U.S. history. At the same time, election deniers are given top positions in DOJ, Homeland Security, and the FBI, all agencies that would be involved in the security of our elections. At least one state election official convicted of granting unauthorized access to Colorado's voting machines in 2021 may get out of prison thanks to Trump sending an order over to the DOJ to make that happen. To fuel all this, Attorney General Bondi has established what she has called the Weaponization Working Group. That sounds nice. Which is out to make Trump's inane rants a reality, such as when he said in 2020 election officials should be prosecuted. Quote, "The people who did this to us should go to jail." The president has signed at least 6 executive orders targeting law firms that have participated in legal actions to protect the 2020 election. But the biggest indicator that the ship of state has steered a completely new course, is dropping dozens of pro-voter cases across the country, and in their place, investigating state election officials with an eye toward prosecution. As you know, probably, the DOJ demanded sensitive voter information, the full voter rolls, your social security number, your driver's license number, to be sent to them from 37 states, including this one. 8 states have refused, and they are being sued by the Department of Justice. In addition, as I mentioned before, they also demanded that they have full physical access to the voting machines, which is a terrifying prospect. And finally, the DOJ says it will share information with Homeland Security. Now that's a great idea. So that ICE can have all that information. That's terrific. Among the pro-voter cases the DOJ has dropped since January, we got a challenge to Virginia's voter purge that disproportionately removed naturalized citizens from the voter rolls. A Texas case challenging discriminatory redistricting as a violation of the Voting Rights Act. A Georgia case involving diluting the strength of the Black vote. A similar case in Washington State about diluting the strength of the Latino vote. And they dropped a case in Arizona that challenged state laws that required citizenship papers or a birth certificate to vote in the presidential election. And of course, we could add to that gerrymandering. The reduction in funding, in staff, and expertise, in data and information sharing with states is leaving states like ours in a perilous position going into the 2026 election year. One that most analysts agree will be a watershed moment in the fight to protect democracy. The Arizona Secretary of State has said that election officials are effectively flying blind without CIS's assistance. The Pennsylvania Secretary of State wrote a letter to Kristi Noem, I'm sure that was well received, that the rollback of CIS's services will have serious consequences for local election officials. But that appears to me to be exactly what the administration wants: serious consequences. From the war-torn streets of Portland to the crime-ridden communities of Washington and pretty much everything in between, we have witnessed the militarization of American life. Federal agents like ICE or Homeland Security roam the streets, grabbing people, smashing in car windows. They wear masks and sunglasses, tactical gear, show no insignia, badge, or nameplate. They throw women to the ground, smash the windows of cars with 1-month-old infants inside, muscle U.S. senators into handcuffs, and last week shot a minister who was praying outside an ICE facility in Portland. Shot him with a pepper ball right in the face. What was the justification for that? What could possibly engender that kind of response, especially since they were 2 stories above on a roof? Apparently, the dangerous crowd, which appeared to be about 12 people, with signs and one guy in a cartoon-like costume, impeded an ICE vehicle. Now we see National Guard troops armed with automatic weapons, parading through city after city, instigating situations to justify their presence. And they don't even mind that people are videotaping them. They don't stop the people who are videotaping them. Why is that? Because they want to be seen. They want everybody to see these pictures. They want us, who do not have this happening yet in our city, to see that be seen and be afraid. So Americans get used to seeing the military in their cities and towns, and eventually it's going to become a normalized part of daily life and of our elections. Although the Constitution prohibits, and I quote, bringing, keeping, or having control of troops or armed men in any polling place during an election, and mandates that states, not the federal government, have the authority to run elections as they see fit, it does not address what happens if states voluntarily bend to federal pressure or hand over control completely. After eliminating all the programs that stand as guardians of our elections, all the expertise and the tools that effectively identified scores of attempted election tampering in 2020 and 2024. Little now stands in the way of Trump claiming a major attack on democracy in the form, of election tampering, and either stopping the elections altogether, seizing control of their administration, or deploying the military to commandeer voting machines. This vision from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has been repeated by a number of national voices. Many of us, I know, look to the 2026 election to be our way out of this nightmare. Without question, it has to be. But the risks and the barriers ahead are not imagined or hysterical. They are real. And we are not sounding the alarm anywhere near loudly enough. The mechanism, Britain's Guardian reported in September, Americans have 400 days to start saving US democracy. The mechanism that must work to do that, our elections, is the one that is being decimated and corrupted. Everyone, regardless of party affiliation, should feel the urgency of this. No one can assume that they will be okay and that the thumb on the electoral scales will be pressing in their ideological direction. This particular election we face now is crucial, but for more than one reason. Of course, we must return Lillian to office and elect Tina to join her, keeping the Democratic majority. But second, this is a test of both our resolve and our commitment. We need poll watchers to be observer guardians at polling places. This year, Evelyn could tell me exactly, I think we need about 9 more than we currently have. Next year, 2026, we will need 152 at least. That's the number of precincts we need to cover, to protect in the 2026 election. We need folks to stand up and take on leadership in their communities, to talk to voters, to make them aware of what's at stake and make sure everyone votes. 45% of people voting is not going to cut it. We need people to spread the word about our 2026 candidates. And yes, that's why that election is so important. In 2015, I phone banked for Hillary Clinton during the primary. The group I was in was just one of, I don't even know how many across the state. We phone banked 3 times a week for 2 hours. We had 20 people doing it. On election day, we called committed voters from 7 a.m. to nearly 7 p.m. We need to summon the energy and excitement we had for Hillary and for Kamala to do the work of democracy now. Our country is going down a dark path that will change it forever. One thing stands in the way. Hundreds of millions of people just like you. People with families, people with jobs, people who are angry, people who are scared. Individually, none of us is particularly brave or particularly special, but together we are powerful. Together we know we cannot leave the country Trump is creating to our children and grandchildren. Together we need to remember the words of John Lewis, who asked, no, who dared, if not us, who? If not now, when? The alternative is simply not acceptable. Okay. I don't know if I put you to sleep or scared you. Scared. Good. A little scared is a good thing. We can use that. Okay, a couple of quick things I wanted to mention. Tomorrow, the NAACP, supported by a number of Greenville organizations, including the League of Women Voters, is having a candidate forum. All 4 council candidates will be in attendance. Why is everything very important? I got to find new words. It is very important that we all show up to support Lillian and Tina. Not only to give them the confidence and to boost their positiveness, but to show the Greenville community that Democrats are out in force, that we are strong and we are committed. Forum starts at 6, right? 6 at the Hughes Library, and I will be there. I look forward to seeing many of you there as well. The Greenville Legislative Delegation, that's all of the elected state level officials, will hold its quarterly meeting on October 27th. Of course, we're in an abysmal minority, but for that reason, we need to show up and support Chandra Dillard, Wendell Jones, and Carl Allen, who tirelessly fight for us at crazy odds.
Here.
There's an opportunity to speak. I'll be putting some of that information in the donkey's tail, which should go out a week from today. So you'll know how to sign up to speak. I can think of several important topics that come to mind. Gerrymandering, the Senate Bill 323 on abortion, the anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion legislation, awaiting the Senate when they return, lots of things. On Saturday, there are 2 No Kings events happening, a statewide rally and march in Columbia, and a mirror event that is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Saturday at the Peace Center Plaza. Expect a lot of visibility. We want to put our commitment to democracy on full display. Both events are permitted, which means for those who might be concerned that there will be a police presence there. I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to yet, but I'm thinking it will be the local one. The 18th is also a day of action for the GCDP. So if you aren't into No King's Day, or actually you could start your day down there at 10 o'clock and get involved with canvassing, phone banking, or text banking for our candidates. So that's another option. Saturday is a busy day. I hope you guys don't have anything else going on. Speaking of text banking, the GCDP now has access to text banking for the upcoming election. It's pretty easy. And because texting now beats any other form of communication, it may be more productive. You can find a link to info on getting started on the GCDP website. It is right at the top of the page. Has a link to a document you can download, and we'll tell you how to get an account and get started doing text banking. You can do this at home, watching TV, cooking dinner, sitting in your living room, whatever. So there's lots of options for you to be able to do this, and it's very helpful. Next month, our meeting will be a discussion of the impact of the anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion legislation in the state Senate. Jill Littlejohn Bostic will talk about the potential impact on businesses, communities, and workers. And Councilor Ken Gibson will address what it could mean for the city. It's our final meeting of 2025, and I'm confident we'll also be celebrating the election results. As usual, we'll also be throwing a holiday party. Details haven't been ironed out, but save December 7th on your calendars. As you know, this is something that that Dem Women gives to you. There's no cost to attend for a member. Okay. We're going to do a little recognition thing before we get to our speakers. Are there, I don't know if I saw any elected officials. Chandra is over there. Elected officials, Chandra. Pastor present, Lillian. Yeah. Glenda. Did I miss anybody? I don't like to actually name anybody because, mess up. Thank you, Glenda. I also want to thank Amy Sutherland, a member, for sponsoring 6 seats on our bus to Columbia for the abortion hearing. Thank you, Amy, for that. It looks like we have a lot of new people today, and we always take time to recognize new people. But I don't believe we do as good a job at recognizing our members. Dem Women is only as strong as you are, only as capable as your support will allow us to be. As we look ahead to 2026, we are planning a very busy year. My hope is we will have funding for postcard campaigns for supporting a strong slate of candidates for federal, state, and local positions, for paid digital media campaigns to push content on issues out to voters who don't normally see Democratic messages. We got a lot of possibilities, and with your support, we will do everything we can to flip that one damn seat and more. We are not saving for retirement here. You want your dues to count for something, and we are going to work hard together to spend your money on multiple efforts to see that that happens. So I want to take this opportunity to ask all of our members who are with us today, we have over 400 now, to stand up and be recognized so we can thank you for helping to make us what we are. Everybody who's a member. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you very much. Anybody who isn't a member, we can certainly help solve that problem for you. Kat Dunleavy is our membership chair. She's over there. There we go. So see her on your way out or anytime, and we'll get you going. We also want to thank all of you who donated to our 50-50 for this month, which was supporting Meals on Wheels. We raised $450, which will be split evenly. Meals on Wheels is also going to be our first quarter 2026 community activity project. And Cindy Henry, who I just saw, there she is organizing and will be, is organizing our activity and will be packing meals. I think that's going to be in February, right? Yeah. So as soon as we have more information, we'll get that out to you with a sign up. This month, Dem Women is supporting Feed and Seed. And we are fortunate today to have Mary Hipp, chairman of the board, with us to talk about the organization, its mission, and how current events may have an impact on its community. Mary, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, afternoon. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I'm also a little loud, so if I get loud, Lillian, tap me down. So I'm Mary Hipp. I'm the founder and board chair of Feed and Seed. We are a nonprofit food hub. Our concept started in 2014, and we opened our brick and mortar in 2022. We have 18,000 square feet in Judson Mill. Our mission is to make fresh food affordable and accessible while creating and sustaining a food system. What we discovered in working with the Greenville County schools is they wanted to buy local, farmers wanted to sell local. There was no system to connect the two. So we've spent the last 10 years creating and supporting that system. We have a market. Thank you. That currently is only open 3 days a week due to the federal situation. We have a community room. It's got its own entrance, own parking, everything. But the heart of our operations is our warehouse, wash and pack room, processing, and our commercial and commissary kitchen. We rent space. We rent the kitchen. We rent cooler space. We rent freezer space. We rent dry storage space, all to support food entrepreneurs. We also participate in Food Share SE. We participate in Veggie RX. But a lot of our programs have altered over the last several months. In January, the entire USDA department was frozen. And in March, 3 of the 4 USDA programs that we participated in, which was buying about $500,000 of local produce and proteins and donating it to charities, schools, and churches every year, were canceled. So we have been changing our operations to stick to our mission, which is making food accessible and affordable while supporting our farmers. The one program that still exists that we are really, really proud of is Scales. It is a farm to school program. So we're going to be spending $500,000 buying strawberries, blueberries, collards, sweet potatoes, and basil, making them to value-added products. Strawberries will be flash frozen or freeze-dried. Blueberries will be flash frozen or dehydrated. The basil will be made into nut-free pesto. Collards will be cooked off to USDA standards, and sweet potatoes will be made into what the school calls sweet potato mash. It's a go. We have it on paper. We haven't seen any of the money yet. So right now, what we're doing is we are getting gap loans from local charities and donor advised funds so that we can continue this program until the cash comes in. I think that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Where did you say the warehouse was?
We're in Judson Mill, which is 2 blocks past Bon Secours. And I didn't get the...
And thanks to Mary McCarthy for bringing Feed and Seed to our attention. It was a fabulous find. Years ago, a lot of times in my life, people said, "Oh, Roxanne, you ought to run for office." And I had this conversation with Chandra Dillard a long time ago. And I said, "Chandra, I don't know how you do it. And I don't know how you sit down with those people and just talk." You know, she said, "That's part of the job." And I said, "Well, that I can't do it. I'm glad you're doing it for us. Thank you." We have no cards at the table. If you have questions from our 3 candidates, please jot those down, and I'll run around and collect them at the end, and we'll do questions at the end after all 3 of the candidates speak, if you don't mind. Kathryn Harvey is a Spartanburg native, a small business owner, and a community leader who spent the last 20 years advising small businesses and nonprofit organizations in the upstate and across the country. Kathryn spearheaded nationwide U.S. Census data collection at the height of the COVID pandemic and helped lead local efforts to register and educate voters. Kathryn is now a candidate for Spartanburg County Council, District 3. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, second home Greenville. I was going through very old and delinquent Facebook messages last night. You know, if like they're not your friend, they get stuffed in a folder somewhere, and somebody had messaged me through my personal Facebook page. And she said, "You know, I see a lot of you in Greenville. It'd be nice if you join us for one of our events in Spartanburg." And I thought, lady, I am everywhere all the time, but Greenville keeps inviting me back. So of course I'm going to show up. Of course I'm going to show up. I'm honored to be here today because so much of what has personally propelled me forward in local politics and professionally showed me a path for how to build in my community is this group of Greenville Democratic women. So I do want to acknowledge that, it's been an extraordinary couple of years of a journey with all of you, and echoing what Laura said, we have more potential right now in the upstate of South Carolina than in any other part of the state because we have more political activity. So a special election popped up for my county council seat in May. The gentleman that held it prior was in this role for 35 years. I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old when he assumed it, and he is a friend, and he's brought a lot of, he was the spearheaded our economic development. So he has quite a legacy for our community, which is booming just like Greenville finally. But when I really started breaking down the opportunity to assume leadership in a district of 35,000 people that is extremely diverse from a socioeconomic background, the east side of Spartanburg is one of our more affluent parts of town, and then it represents Packlet, Cowpens, and Mayo. Next week, I go visit Mayo Elementary School. There's 99% poverty rate. So what that tells me is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all district, and we have to be governing and planning as such. And I think many pockets of our county have been left out. So it's a huge opportunity to refocus on everyday people, right? We've done a wonderful job bringing in business, which has brought jobs, but what are we doing for people who have been here for generations? How are we mitigating the growth that is coming in at an astounding rate? You've already felt it. You're living out this in Greenville right now. We're just starting to really feel it. We're about 3 to 5 years in. And the biggest thing I hear is that nobody's coming out to talk to folks. So they're watching it unfold, but they don't understand why decisions are being made, what the plan is for our population to double by 50% by 2040. And as someone who ran our local census, I mean, that's extraordinary. All of this is opportunity if you have a plan. And that plan cannot be agendized by 1 or 2 or 5 people on council who are there for 1 or 2 or 3 specific reasons. And I think that has been happening a lot across the South, which is why it's exciting that Tina is running, why it's exciting that we're going to reelect Lillian, why it's exciting that we have a chance in Spartanburg County to flip this seat for the first time in history. And we have it right now. Thank you. And what that tells me after knocking over 2,000 doors and getting our first report back from paid phone calls last night, we got a lot of yeses out there. People are paying attention because of the national politics. And if we can harness that in the upstate, there's some extraordinary movement to be had as we head into 2026. Everything that Laura just stated is very real and very critical. And I'm honored that I get to work with Stacy in my chair capacity to ready ourselves for the most important election year we're going to have. And I know we say it every year, but gracious, is it true right now? And to get us there, we have to get us here. We have to get us into these seats right now. Because by all accounts, the national is trickling down to the state. The state is trickling down to counties and municipalities, which means your council people will be the front line. That's right. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And the chances we have in the upstate are local, right? We're going to focus on those state house seats, but this right now is where we can win. That is not even a partisan statement, y'all. That is the future of our communities. And we win with you. We win because people keep showing up and voting in their local elections. We have 11 democratically aligned women running in Spartanburg County from school board to county council right now. It is extraordinary. City council, commissioner of public works, school boards, a county council race, and we do have special elections for Senate and House right now. And while we do not have a Democratic candidate, gracious, they're worth paying attention to because these are serious. And there is the Freedom Caucus could grow up here. I just have to acknowledge that if we are not careful, and we can't afford it. So the beautiful thing is in the midst of all this chaos, we have opportunity and we're ready for it because of you, because for 50 years, this group has bridged together to get good people elected, because the spillover of your work has ignited something in Spartanburg, and we've been able to build there too, because women are stepping up to run in every single level of government in a way we have not seen in a minute. And we need to send a message that we are going to elect women in the state of South Carolina. Because what the nation is seeing is otherwise. And we are seeing what it's doing to our state house right now with the lack of representation. I've spent the last 2 weeks with our sister senators traveling from South Carolina to New York as they tell their story, as they engage with communities, as people are aghast hearing what just happened at the State House last week. This is not who we are, but it's being purported nationally. And the only way over this is through it. And that starts with winning these elections right now. So I am $3,000 away from my entire fundraising goal. That's it. I'm just knocking doors till the cows come home in Cowpens and Packlet. Because that's how we're going to win this race. Amen. That is how we're going to win this race. And what it's going to do, Tina started before I did, it's modeling for all the other races that follow us, that they're going to get out there and do the same level of work, because we're going to outwork them every single time. That's right. Every single. We're going to take everything we built this year and we're going to put it right into those statewide races and our state house races, because we have to keep this mobilization going. And I just want to thank you all again, because you You truly are setting the standard for how we are going to show up in the upstate, and it is making a difference. So keep doing it. Thank you.
You can tell she's been doing this for a while. She was right on 10 minutes. Like, bam. Excellent, Kathryn. I've known Tina Belge for a long time, and I've watched her grow into this incredible mother and friend and community activist. And it's been a pleasure to watch her grow and become who she is right now. Tina Belge is the owner of Catalyst Community Consulting, where she helps spark change for local governments, nonprofits, and the private sector for housing affordability. She's a former congressional intern, a two-time AmeriCorps service member, former planner for both Greenville County Redevelopment Authority and Greenville County. She serves on the board of South Carolina Women's Affordable Housing Network and is a founding member of South Carolina Women in Leadership. Tina's a graduate of Georgia Southern and UNC Chapel Hill's MPA program. She and her husband, Jacob, have two beautiful daughters, Sammy and Robin, and two dogs, Lily and Ruff. Please welcome Tina Belge.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. That was so sweet. Ooh, got me a little teary. I'm Tina Belge. So good to be here. Last I was here, we were talking about childcare and everything around that. So it's been just a few months. I just want to say before I get kind of into my usual spiel, I really want to recognize the women in this room and the men who have been behind this campaign from the beginning. So if you've donated, if you volunteered, please stand up. If you've made a phone call, made a text, I see you. Come on. Don't do that. Stand up. Wow. Thank you. This is obviously, a campaign for my election, but this is a campaign for our city. And so I just think it's important to recognize everybody who's really making it happen. I could not do it without this group, so I'm incredibly proud and honored to be here. I'm third generation to live in the upstate, and as Roxanne mentioned, probably way too involved. And I love this city, right? It's where I've chosen to raise my family. My papa taught at Clemson. My mom grew up in the upstate, and just before I was born, they moved to Aiken. And not too long after that, though, we found ourselves back here. We were living in the Taylors area. My mom was going through severe postpartum depression issues, and that caused housing instability in my family. My twin sister and I would either be up here with our cousins in Taylors or be hopping around different churches back in Aiken, Augusta area. So when you hear kind of that background in housing and everything I've worked in, that's where it comes from. It was something I experienced personally and something I carry with me. That on top of living in a very political household, and actually the opposite side politically. I grew up watching Fox News. I grew up, no joke, I had an O'Reilly Factor for Kids, no spin zone book, and I was 10. So I'm a critical thinker, right? I'm serious. Like I was taught question the media, but that's the media that you're consuming every day, right? So I really am grateful to my folks for that. And I can, like Chandra is doing, like we all have to do, we have to sit in rooms with folks who do not agree with us. And we have to find that commonality. And that's something I've been prepared to do since I was a baby. It's a unique perspective, but it really set me on that path along with that experience. I grew up with my dad complaining about the government every day. So what did I want to do? I wanted to fix the government from the inside. And that's what I've done. Like, that's truly the path that set me forward. He jokingly always calls me a bureaucrat, and I wear that very proudly. Because that's what I have always been about. I had 8 years of public service and then in the nonprofit sector at the Greenville Housing Fund. I've been in communities, I've been doing this work, affordable housing, transit, childcare, protecting our trees. These are not just the top 4 issues for my campaign. This is what I've dedicated my life to. Right? Folks are experiencing immense change in our community, right? It is the most unaffordable it's ever been to live here. Our teachers can't live here. Our police officers can't live here. You work at a restaurant downtown, there's no way you can afford to even park downtown, let alone live downtown. our Greenville is changing, right? And it has been for some time. If we don't have folks with the best interest at mind, really presenting that forward to our community, leading in these spaces, we're gonna have a Greenville that we don't recognize anymore. Part of my consulting, I go across the country and I work with cities experiencing this same thing, right? They're either trying to get ahead of it or they're already dealing with the symptoms of what's happened. We could do that in Greenville. I don't want us to be like the Low Country where the restaurant, the retail workers can't live there anymore. All the mom and pop shops and all the unique places we have in Greenville shut down, and we're left with box stores because they're the only ones who can afford the rent downtown, right? We have young families who can't live in our city anymore, and we're already seeing it. Our average age is going up. Our family sizes are dropping. They can't live in our city. I could tell you 20 families offhand who moved out and into the county. Right? So these are things that are affecting folks every day. Our transit system, 75 minutes to wait for a bus. Charleston invested in it, Columbia invested in it, and they have good ridership, right? But we are going to need to protect our Democratic majority to make sure these things happen. It will not be a priority. If you look at, just look at our priorities, my opponents and my priorities, we're very different in what we're approaching, right? My experience in housing affordability, transit, I was director of Keep Greenville County Beautiful, which is all about protecting our trees. And along with all of these issues, you can like take this talking points from their website, but there's solutions. I'm not just getting up there saying, these are the priorities and these are the problems, and they are because they come from the 2040 plan, but I lay out very specific. City land for affordable homeownership, rental, you could build equity, right? What if you could actually put away money while you're renting for those people who can't afford to live here? Better bus routes, using our trolleys again into our neighborhood. How wonderful would that be? 20% of folks in West Greenville don't have access to a car. That really is stifling economic mobility. Childcare, changing zoning to make that more friendly. Our trees. If there's a development happening, there's no reason that clear cutting should happen in our city.
That's right.
No reason. So there's real plans, there's real things that are tangible you can share with your friends. And it's not going to be possible without the folks who've already just stood up and doing what they're doing today. So if you haven't joined, if you didn't get the chance to stand, I would love for you to have a chance to do that. You phone, like you said, phone banking, texting. You can I bought some car stickers. You want to put a car sticker in your car? That'd be super great. They come off easy, I swear. These are vinyl. They're not like the cheap ones. Yard signs, of course, you can help put them out or take one. We have some at Democratic Party headquarters to pick up. It's really about spreading the word too. If you can tell 3 friends, if they are folks who are Democratic and maybe you think they don't know about this race, make sure they know. But even moderate Republicans, right? If I talk to folks and say, I'm a planner, this is my work, my opponent's a developer, that's usually the end of the conversation. Yeah. Regardless of party, like truly. I think also, emphasizing my work experience, send them to the website, take 5 minutes to see all the things that I've done in our community. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that word of mouth and direct response. But we can't do it without you. And I'm incredibly honored just so much for the support that I've already received from this group. You are amazing. You are saving our democracy, truly. And like she said, this is the momentum for next year. This is the seed that we have the opportunity to save because we are a blue city. Let's not forget it.
That's right.
We have a majority. We've had a majority for 6 years. This is our seat to lose. And damn it, we're not going to lose it.
That's right.
So thank you. If you haven't had a one-on-one, please come find me. I would love to meet you if we haven't already. Thank you so much. And let's win this November 4th. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people have said to me, well, I don't live in the city. I can't vote for Tina or Lillian. And here's a concrete thing that I did that was pretty easy. I made a list of 10 people who live in the city, and I'm going to email them about early voting and who Tina is and who her opponent is. And if you all would do that, that would be immense. I mean, that would be like fully reaching out to the whole city. And it comes from you, so they'll open it, they'll probably read it. And do talk to your friends because they're really, I'm with Tina, like once you explain she's a city planner, he's a commercial developer. I mean, hello. So just be sure that they know early voting starts October 20th. So, and come to headquarters if you want to sign and you didn't get one today. Lillian Brock Flemming is a familiar figure for most of us, known for her long tenure on Greenville City Council and her commitment to public service. Born in Greenville's Southern Side community, she was raised in a household that inspired her passion for public service. Flemming was one of the first 3 African-American women to attend Furman, where she earned both a bachelor's and a master's in mathematics education. She served as a math teacher at Southside High School until service to the city, until her retirement in 2017, where she was twice named Teacher of the Year. Flemming's service to the city includes advocating for affordable housing solutions, economic empowerment, and educational equity. She's married to the Reverend J.M. Flemming, and together they have 10 children and 56 grandchildren. That's a lot. Lillian, please welcome Lillian Brock Flemming.
All right. Yay, Tina. That's my baby right here. Yay. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm glad to be here. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you know there's more than one way to have children. Hello. My husband is a retired minister, okay, and I'm supposedly a first lady. You know, I wear a lot of hats. Okay. However, we had plannings. Running for city council was not exactly my plan. I was 8 months pregnant when I won my first election. Okay, it was Lila Mae Brock who said to me, and I said to her, they said, well, you do all of the service in the community, you run for office. I said, I'm not running for any office. I said, I'm pregnant. And my mother said, and I said, Mom, I can't run. She says, well, tell me being pregnant. Okay, so you can't talk, you can't answer questions, you can't go to meetings. So what else you can't do when you're pregnant? You know, I had a college degree, so I kind of figured that out. I said, yes, ma'am. And so I understood it. But what she wanted me to understand was that your life, if it's dedicated to what you want to do, some things you make some sacrifices. So all these years I've made sacrifices. And so we have lovely children. We have outstanding grandchildren. Bad? Woo! The 11-month-old yesterday decided to crawl over to her granddaddy and peep around the corner and hide under something so her daddy could not see her. So, Lord Jesus. I haven't been reelected yet. She's already causing pains and horrors. But I am so happy to be running, and I'm going to tell you why I'm running. There was a lot of reasons why I decided, I'm old, I'm not going to run. I said to myself, I looked at county council. That was in that question. Half of them are good. Half of them are real old. Even the new ones are very old. But I have served in several capacities, and so I'm not going to tell my opponent that I am qualified. You know, hopefully he knows that, bless his heart. Since he put out some information that's not necessarily true, he had to make up some things as he goes, and I appreciate him doing that. They made me really sound fantastic. However, since I have disappropriated funds or something he said, but anyway, since I've done that, I've got, I guess at the end of this, we've got to have a massive party. I got to make the man truthful somewhere, etc. But I'm excited in running. And let me tell you why. Because there's so many things that we could lose in the city. And, you know, gentrification is one of those things that has created problems, displaced people. In the neighborhood I live in, I ran because they were going to move 1,127 people from my neighborhood just to build a 7-lane road. And of course, and at the time I was younger, and so I was always complaining about things and saying we got to do better. So one time the NAACP was asking some of the younger people to say something, and so I said something, and I called all the 30-year-old people old. So you can imagine how young I was, etc. But I learned at that time that we have to make a commitment. And I said, and so what has hurt me is that right after I signed up, to run, my husband had a massive stroke. And it has created a problem. He still is not walking yet. But let me tell you this, he's alive. He is in charge of his bedroom. He is in charge of what he wants to eat and where he wants to go. But it has been people in this room and outside this room who have called, walked, talked, gave money, and all of the above. You are my campaign. You are the reason I am where I am. It's because you have believed in me and have made sure that my election is going to be a great election. But more importantly, that it's going to be a double whammy. It's going to be a Tina Lillian. Lillian Tina. Yeah. It's going to be greatness. And I thank you for that because you have done something because I thought to pull out. Then we looked at numbers. We have to have name recognition. And we have to do what we have to do. I'm running because I'm a Democrat. And I'm never going to be a Republican under no circumstances. But more important than that, it's all the things that I've worked for. Home ownership, revitalizing playgrounds, working with seniors, trying to make sure that they have a good place to stay. And there's a pretty one that's being built right down Washington Street, right beside my mama's statue. I love it. It's amazing what we can do if we work together. Every time we have any kind of votes, you Democrats show up and show out. And I appreciate you for doing that. There's so many things that we have done and so many things we haven't done in the city of Greenville. One of the things that we have not done is gotten rid of our diversity official. We still have one in the city of Greenville. Can you believe it? We have revitalized neighborhoods. We even have our own Black History tour that we just started some years. Why? Because as we looked around, we found out that the people who had been here the longest time were going to forget and lose some of the history that we have worked so hard to maintain. That's right. And it's enough. We just opened and cut the ribbon to Mayberry Park. Can you believe it? Well, some of the Republicans said to me, we don't need a Mayberry. That sounds country. I said, well, you better come to the country. I said, because it's going to be named Mayberry Park. Why? Because the state gave it to this African-American community a long time ago as the first park. And y'all took it from the people in the city of Greenville. So we have worked hard to revitalize and get it back. We've worked hard to revitalize housing and some neighborhoods that have been around for a long time, like Stone Avenue, Hampton Pinckney, all of these neighborhoods. We've worked to revitalize it, but I'm running because not only do I want to revitalize some things, there are a few things that we have not finished yet. And one is the Queen Street Bridge, built in 1918. Built in 1918. It took me 3 years to find out who owned it. Was it the state? Was it whatever it was, et cetera? 3 years they were trying to hide place to place. But once we found out where it was, we sent the city over there to fix it without approval. Did they say anything? No. Why? Because people need to be able to go to work. People need to be able to have some help when the ambulance drives across the bridge. They needed all of those things. That's why I'm running, is because we need to continue to do those things that we need to do and not worry about just one thing that my opponent is worrying about. And that's and that has to do with drawing the right lines. He thought that I was a person that you don't just need to draw lines just to draw lines, the white people not being represented. I said, well, they seem to be doing pretty good last time I checked. Because we had a meeting, I asked all the white people who were against this particular idea to please stand, because they kept telling me, they came to me and told me the white people were for moving all these Black people and stuff like that. So I asked the little white people in West Greenville, and they stood up and said, hell no. Oh, Lord, I'm trying to tell you. So all I'm saying is that we need to stop allowing people to divide us. I'm running because we need to stay together. We have a lot going on. The other thing is we have been working on, and a lot of people know, the city schools are not part of our responsibility on council. However, the city of Greenville has has revitalized. We have given playground equipment to make sure all of our schools have playground equipment in the city of Greenville. And I didn't know it was something new, so I just did it a long time ago because Stone Elementary School needed playground equipment. Little children didn't need to be out there making up their own toys on the playground. They didn't need that. So there are things that we have to do, meaning that we have to work together. I go to neighborhood meetings and listen to people, and I actually answer my phone, which a lot of people didn't realize until they said, "Is this you?" I said, "Yes, me. It's me. How you doing?" Etc. And we're working on things. We have a lot of problems and a lot of things to solve. But let me say this: we can make it.
Yes.
We can do this. The only way we don't do it is we go home and close the door. I'm not going to do that. Now, I keep hearing that America needs to be great again. Now, I'm old, but I'm not that old. And I'm trying to realize when it was great. Was that during the time of slavery? I can't remember anything going back further when it was great. It was great. It's great now. So I'm still running for this particular seat because America is greater than that person thinks it is. And we are not going to allow the MAGAs to get on the council and start messing up our good thing. It's exciting to be on council when we work together. We don't agree on everything, but we keep working until we can work out a compromise we all learn. But one thing that we had a little problem with recently is trying to get homeless people to sit on benches and go to sleep. You're going to go to jail. Hey, that was a new thing. But anyway, we got rid of that. It didn't take but 5 minutes for that person to realize when y'all showed up, y'all came to the meeting, showed up, showed out. But let me just say this, I'm not going back. I'm running. And I hope the 56 grandchildren, they're not old enough to vote yet. However, but those grandchildren will be doing what we need them to do. And thank you for praying for my husband, because he'll be walking pretty soon. It'll take a while, but he'll be walking, and may God bless all of you.
Okay, thank you, Kathryn and Tina and Lillian. That was fantastic. I know we're all excited and we are all poised to get out there and canvas and phone bank and text bank to make sure that everything they said becomes a reality, right? Let me hear you say it. Right. Are there any questions for any of our candidates? If there are, you should have written them on your little index cards. There's one over there. Anybody else? Well, we'll start with one and see if anything else comes along. Thank you. And the winner is, bring the microphone around to you guys since you're not all sitting in the same place. This one is, we are revitalizing historical communities, but pricing out the possibility of people who live there to continue to buy and live there. How can we stop this gentrification takeover, or is it too late? Who wants me to come over with the microphone? Tina? Oh, Tina, you. Lillian, you go first. The senior person here.
One of the ways we do it, Tina can give you, as a planning person, we give you the directions on this. What we have to do is we have to have help at the state level. We have Chandra Dillon. We got to send about 25 more Chandra Dillon at the state level to help us pass the laws that we need in place in order for us to be able to say that if you're going to build here, certain percentage of these things will have to be for people at a certain income. We don't have that in this state. Other states do. And that's how they're able to make a difference. But we do have some developers that have been, and so very few, maybe 2 or 3 on my hand, 2 or 3 that have helped us, and that they have actually put that in their proposal is they will build low income housing, but it's only few. The rest of them, we have people that won't even give a person with a voucher a place to stay. They won't even take them in. That's the biggest problem. Is they have the money, they have a place to live, somebody's gonna pay their rent, they won't let them live there. So we got to stop that evilness.
This is my favorite question. Yeah, so the source of income, we could pass a source of income law locally.
Right.
Chandra led that on the state level. It's something you can even do within the city. That would protect any form of income, whether that's social security, disability, a voucher, a veterans assisting housing voucher. You shouldn't be discriminated against because of whatever form. But oftentimes when you go to a property manager, they only want a pay stub, and that's all that they will take. So if we pass that locally, that would be a huge part of that. That land I talked about that the city owns, that could be land trust model. So you're taking the land out of that mortgage, so it takes it out of the equation. It's a much more affordable product. And then you have that affordable in perpetuity. You share the equity when you sell that house. Could also, like I said, build equity while you rent if you did a mixed income land trust model. There's all these things out there that we could be doing as a city that I do with best practices across the country. We could do it here, especially with this amount of land that our city owns. Accessory dwelling units, we're making some changes to make that easier. More missing middle housing actually mapped on our city map. We made a lot of districts a few years ago, but do we actually map them? Not a lot. So those kind of things, but also incentives. Subsidy is the biggest thing. I helped the county write a multifamily tax abatement along with Dennis Fant, Chris Harrison. That really brought in the private sector, right? We need more of that. So incentive zones is what we do in some other cities where you say, hey, we're going to give you a direct subsidy and you're going to build affordable housing as part of your unit, right? And that incentive can go to anything. It can go to childcare, small businesses, vacant reuse of like old buildings. Like I'm on Pleasantburg in White Hampton. Pleasantburg, you some love, right? There's and it's a great place. There's actual capacity. There's good transit. There's retail. There's all these things close by. We have to be focusing growth where we can manage it and not where it doesn't belong. And we can do that while incentivizing affordability.
Any other questions? Okay, I guess they answered all your questions. Terrific. So what is it we're going to be doing this weekend? There we go. Okay. All righty. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming and participating today. We're all leaving here with things to do. I think a lot of positive vibes. We've got great candidates. We've got a big election to win. Next time we meet, we will be celebrating their victory. I'm absolutely certain. Thank you very much. Please bust your tables.